Let's move on from that and something a little more positive. What exactly does a sports psychologist do?
Oh, this is a great question, man. We work with this part of the body only. Like when I work with athletes, with basketball players, there are times I'll go out and help them with their shots. There are times I'll go out and help them with their defensive moves, free throw shooting. You mentioned that earlier. But the main thing in sports psychology is what are the blocks to performance that we need to remove mentally?
Hmm.
What are the blocks? So, you mentioned free throws, putting, double fault in tennis. There's all kinds of things that people can get really hung up on. And most athletes, whether you're a weekend warrior or a semi-pro or a professional athlete, has weaknesses, and a lot of the weaknesses are right here. A year ago, I worked with a professional golfer, and he was amazing as a golfer until it got to high pressured putting. And then he melted. He would lose tournament after tournament because of high pressured putting. Now, I don't know anything about putting and strokes. I'm talking to his putting instructor. They've got it down nailed because that's not my expertise. But I went in and helped him eliminate the insecure thoughts that come up every time he's under pressure in putting. And by eliminating and giving him techniques like we talked earlier about cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the techniques I taught him, we were able to get him back on track. And it only took about 4 months to get him back and to change that mindset, which is crucial. So, whenever I work with a new athlete, the very first question I say is, what are your blocks? What are your weaknesses? Because your strengths are great. I want to help you eliminate your weaknesses. And that's how we begin the discussion, Ryan.
What separates the top athletes? They don't have to be professional, but the top athletes from your normal everyday baseball, basketball player.
If you eliminate genetics, the number one separation is that the top players are willing to do what 90% of others will not do.
Hmm.
It's that simple. Steph Curry staying after a practice and shooting 100 free throws or shooting 150 to 200 jump shots from 35 feet out, which is just crazy what that man can do. But he's one of those people that did what 90% of other athletes won't do. I remember, in high school, my basketball, I had a couple amazing basketball coaches, one that just beat me to death who I couldn't stand. And he ended up being one of the reasons I played Division I because he was so tough on me. But I remember another high school basketball coach. Do you remember the half glasses? Have you ever seen those in basketball? They're
Yes.
plastic and you can't see down. So you can't see your hands dribbling, like that kind of stuff. So one of my coaches in high school wanted me to wear those during multiple practices. And I told him he was insane. And I said that because I looked stupid in them. Isn't that funny? And he goes, why aren't you going to wear? I go, because I look like an idiot. He goes, do you want to look like an idiot and be a great basketball player or look like a great guy and be an average basketball player? Oh, very interesting point, coach. And I started wearing them. And that was one of the things that allowed me to handle the ball at a level much higher than a lot of people at that time, right? So I think the major thing is number one is going to be outside of genetics. Are you willing to do what most people won't do? And then number two is who do you need to hire? Because the people that move on to become great are always those individuals that have additional teachers, additional coaches, whether it's a sports psychologist or a practical application of skills. I have a professional tennis player I play with every Saturday, and I'm nowhere near his level. But I play with him because he's an amazing teacher. And I do know this, that by playing with someone that good, my game is going up every Saturday, every freaking Saturday, Ryan. It has to. I go out on the court. I don't want to look, like I'm a total loser. I don't want to get blown off the court, which he could easily every time. But, I learned so much by going up and playing with people better than me. And that's the other thing, that all really good athletes do is that they will look for a competition which will force them to up their game.
So similar to business again, almost
Right on.
everything you just said. In today's world with social media, I ask this question to almost every athlete that I talk to because I'm so curious and celebrity. How how do they deal with, I know I have, when I put videos out or anything out, a blog out, and you get feedback, it's not always as nice as can be. But how does a celebrity or a professional athlete deal with that? Because you can go on YouTube right now and type in puppies. Puppies are, cute and fluffy, and there'll be somebody in there who says, "I hate your puppy," or "Your puppy's ugly." How does an athlete or a celebrity deal with that
Do
every
you
day?
know? Yeah, most of the athletes and celebrities I work with do not read their own press. They don't pay attention to what people are saying on social media. A lot of them are not on social media, Ryan,
Mm,
for the very reason. But the ones that are on social media, they'll tell me every time. I'll say, geez, I saw this, someone critiqued you on this, and they go, oh, really? I didn't even see it.
really?
and and I think that that's important. I think it's important not to take things personally. Everyone has I shouldn't say everyone, most of us have a fragile ego. We don't want to be told we're wrong. We don't want to be criticized. We don't want to be made fun of. We don't want to be lambasted by some goofball on social media. But if we're going to be on social media, that's one of the things that happens. So I think you either learn how to roll with it. And what I recommend to everyone, and I do this on my pages all over social media, if someone is personally attacking me or personally critiquing me, I never respond, Ryan. I never respond. Never. Because all that's going to do is get me riled up, and it's going to continue the nonsense. So I will tell people, if you are going to post like this again, you will be blocked. I'll put something like that up there, but I'm not going to counterpoint them, because there's a lot of people that just want to argue for the sake of argument. They want to argue to be right. They don't care what the topic is. They're going to critique your puppy just like they're going to critique what we're doing with the government with the pandemic. And I think it's important to allow things to roll off your shoulders. If there's something to learn from a constructive criticism post, then learn from it. But most of the time, it's pretty, if you're posting, let's say, non-controversial stuff, if you get negative quotes or comments on non-controversial topics, just let them go. If you're posting controversial topics, well, you should expect that, and it shouldn't bother you. If you want to take a strong stand on the government, the pandemic, the shutting down of Major League Sports, if you want to say you hate Trump or you love Trump, whatever it is, just expect pushback. And if you're going to get upset when you're posting controversial stuff, that's your gig. That means you don't have very high self-confidence at all, because someone with self-confidence knows that if I'm going to go outside of the box and make some pretty strong statements, I'm going to get pushback. I better be ready to learn how to deal with it.
Mm. Are you dealing right now with athletes who are trying to grasp that their seasons have been canceled? And
Oh, I'll tell you what. Yeah, both professional and college, and it's a nightmare. Think about this. In college, of course, we've missed the March Madness and everything. This was an opportunity for many athletes to showcase themselves for the pros. That's the truth. And some of them that I work with are so incredibly downtrodden and dejected and depressed right now because they're seniors and they don't have another year to come back and to make a big statement in the playoffs. So we have to work with them on accepting the reality of life, which is sometimes the most difficult form of acceptance to find.